Nothing made John prouder than serving his country alongside his little brother Andrew. But Andrew's military career tragically took its toll. One of far too many soldiers lost in the aftermath of war. They deserved better, let down by the very system meant to protect them.
I've served my country and I enjoyed serving my country.
Former Petty Officer John Armfield signed up to fight for his country.
Mate, it was my life. It was only just below having a family. It was something I did with pride.
Now he's fighting for truth and justice.
I've done nothing wrong except for ask questions about my brother.
John Armfield's brother, Andrew, enlisted in the Australian Army in 2001.
It was on my advice that he joined the Army. I advised him to join.
John himself enlisted in the Navy 2 years later, becoming a clearance diver.
This one sort of sums up my career.
After a deployment to East Timor, Andrew transferred to the Royal Australian Air Force. Andrew was living with PTSD. In 2011, Andrew attempted suicide and suffered a stroke.
My brother told me he was going to attempt it a second time.
John warned doctors, but was told he was overplaying it. Soon after, the Armfield family was contacted by police, informing them Andrew had again tried to take his own life.
So I sat with my brother for a couple of hours until life support was turned off.
The following day, John was approached by a nurse.
She burst into tears and she goes, "They're not telling you everything." I said, "What are you talking about?"
She handed him a hospital report which revealed 6 one-litre bottles of whiskey had been found in Andrew's room. The 34-year-old had been prescribed mirtazapine, a medication that could trigger suicidal ideations and shouldn't be taken when consuming alcohol.
At that stage, I identified there was a mass failing there.
In 2021, he was moved to Defence Force recruiting.
And then I found myself sitting at Defence Force recruiting, trying to tell other people it's safe for them to join.
That year, 10 years after his brother had died, he received a report into Andrew's death.
It brought me to tears, it broke me.
He reached out to the ADF for help.
The Defence Force told me to go to the Royal Commission. I found myself in a situation where the organisation I loved was not helping me.
But he kept asking questions.
This was a legal minefield that I'd stepped into.
John Armfield lodged a complaint of maladministration, but says he was told the allegation could not be substantiated because he had admitted to seeing a psychologist.
I found it disgusting. It was abhorrent that they could use me seeing a Navy psychologist.
John later met with the Chief of Navy.
I said, "I'm a petty officer in the Royal Australian Navy." I said, "I've served you for 20 years, sir. Fight for me, do something."
At one stage, John discovered his sensitive information was available on a Defence Force website, breaching his privacy. He reported the data breach, but remarkably, he was placed under investigation by military police.
The system had beat me down for 1.5 years at this point.
John was eventually cleared of any wrongdoing.
The organisation was closing ranks around this fight for truth, accountability and justice I found myself on.
The married father of 2 was even offered a promotion and posting to San Diego. He claims that was an attempted payoff and maintains he couldn't live with himself if he sold out.
I've sold my brother, my fellow colleagues who have committed suicide, my own integrity, but I'm also culpable and responsible for the next suicide, and there will be more, unfortunately.
Do you swear by Almighty God that the evidence...
In March, John Armfield entered the Royal Commission into Defence and Veteran Suicide witness box.
The 6th of March was my chance to tell my story.
I'd loyally serve my nation.
John presented a mountain of evidence that was not challenged by ADF lawyers.
The entire time they'd been gaslighting me and telling me there was nothing to see, and yet they still didn't want to cross-examine the evidence.
John Armfield showed significant courage, bravery in putting his hand up and coming forward.
Royal Commissioner Nick Caldis says the inquiry has uncovered decades of welfare issues involving the ADF.
They are now undeniable and they must be dealt with.
John Armfield's anger is aimed at 3 senior officers who can't be named for legal reasons.
The organisation still fights tooth and nail to protect them, even though the Chief of Navy clearly says they've done wrong.
But he's vowed never to give up the fight.
It's my little brother. I'm not going away.
You're a good man, John, and it's a fight worth having. And if you or someone close to you needs help, support is available. You can contact Lifeline. The number is 13 11 14.